Good Friday morning, everybody. This is Robert People of RobertPeople.com, and you are listening to People's Court. Thank you for tuning in. Today is Friday, December 13th, 2019. One more day, focus on work, get through these next few hours, and you're off to the weekend. If you're one of those who works on the weekend, that's another day for you, but hey, you can still get it in. Have a good day, okay? Make it a good one. What I'm talking about today, to wrap up the week, Michael Vick. Now, at this point, we all know what's going on with him and what the country has said about him and so on. Okay, just to give you a little quick background. Of course, back in 2000, the late 2000s, we'll say, 2007 and 2008, Michael Vick was convicted for dogfighting, being in charge of dogfighting, participating in some of it himself directly. He served jail time for it, prison time. He served prison time for this, and he was out of the NFL, obviously, for a good period, but he was reinstated. Anyway, fast forward to now, and the NFL decided to make Michael Vick an honorary team captain for the Pro Bowl that is coming up in a few weeks. And someone decided to start a petition that because of the dogfighting charges and conviction, that includes, the time that Michael Vick served, because he served time. It wasn't as though he was let off the hook. He served time for what he did. But this petition is trying to encourage the NFL to not allow him to do that. Now, the NFL has already come out to say they're still going to do it. They're aware of the petition, but they're still going to do it. Michael Vick has paid his debt to society. The end. I'm going to start by saying this. Before some of you lose your minds, let me start by saying this. What Michael Vick did was wrong. Period. There's no excuses for that. None. That's what you do. When someone is wrong, when you are wrong, you accept it and you go about your business. You don't find excuses. You don't say, well, that's what it is. And the funny thing is, I haven't heard anybody make excuses for what Michael Vick did. I haven't heard a single person say, well, he was only doing that, because of, whatever. Not the same as excuses we hear for our quote-unquote president and all the sexual assault allegations against him. The excuses are, and these are against human beings, of course, the excuses are, well, it was a long time ago. Why is it a problem now? Why are these women saying anything after this much time has gone by? No, it's not excuses like that or anything of the sort. No, people straight up said, yeah, he was wrong. Got it. But that's what you do. He was wrong, straight up. So do not comment, because I've written about this several times on my social media. I say Michael Vick is wrong. Someone comes along and they still feel the need to say he's wrong, like they didn't just read what I wrote. Don't come on here to say how wrong he is. That's why I'm saying it this early in my podcast, because saying he's wrong, you're just repeating. You're preaching to the choir. You're already saying what I just said. So we got it. But one thing I've noticed is that there's this gross lack of forgiveness. People have a need to announce proudly that he's not forgiven. Oh, I'm not forgiving this. Oh, this is unforgivable. Not that I have to tell you this part, but he's obviously not doing it anymore. He's not participating in it. Not only is he not participating in it, but Michael Vick has made donations to animal rights groups. He's spoken. He's gone to different engagements, and he's spoken up about it and against the cruel treatment of animals. and a host of other things. So he's done that. He's not only done his time, but he's come back to right the ship. We can't go back in time and bring those dogs back. So he's doing the only thing really he can do right now. He didn't throw up deuces and say, you know what, forget y'all, I'm just going to go about my day. No, he came up and he did what he could. The thing about forgiveness is that after a while, it's on you whether you choose to forgive him or not. It's not on him. It's not on him. But anyway, the interesting thing about this is that this lack of forgiveness for him, it's really not something we should be surprised about. America in 2019, it shouldn't surprise anybody. It should not surprise anybody that he's not forgiven for something he hasn't done in 12 years. And there's one common trait. There's one common trait of just about everybody who doesn't forgive him. One common trait. One common physical trait. And I don't think I have to tell you what that physical trait is. Does that mean that every white person who's against Michael Vick? I guess I just told you, huh? But does that mean every white person who's against Michael Vick is racist? No. I don't mind saying that. No, it doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that at all. Because what he did affected dogs. And people are dog. There are a lot of dog lovers out there. So it doesn't have to mean that they hate him because he's black. No, it's not that. But we as a country have become so conditioned to view black people differently than white folks. Even the supposedly not racist, I got black friends, I got Latin friends people out there. Even those guys, we're conditioned to look down on people of color than on white people. And this exists in pretty much all over. This is more of the same. This is not an unusual circumstance. This is not oh my goodness, people don't forgive him. Why would he not forgive? It should not surprise anybody. Because this is how we in this country are viewed. For the most part, by the same people who accepted and forgave. Not a football player who, only affects, one area of society. But the man who encompasses everything about the United States. Everything about America. Our president. We forgave him. He's forgiven. And not we, I damn sure don't. But he, I take that back. Yes, I have. I have forgiven him. Because again, that's for me. But we've allowed, let me rephrase it. Let me phrase it that way. Not we've forgiven, not I've forgiven, but we've allowed, accepted as a country. That's better to say. Accepted what he did. And he's not even apologizing for it. Comments he made, he's like, so what? Big deal. This is a man who came out and said, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and I won't lose voters. That's telling you, as his voter, as his supporter, you are too stupid not to vote for me. Because I can do anything and your dumb ass will still vote for me. That's practically what he said. And what did people do? Still voted for him. So that part is okay, right? But when it comes to us, as people of color I'm talking about, we don't get that same opportunity. Look at all that Michael Vick has done since he's been incarcerated. And we still have to be mad at him like this happened yesterday. That takes some effort. But let's look at the other instances and why this should not surprise us. Very often, way too often, black men and sadly children, unarmed, have been murdered by police. And even in those cases, excuses were made to justify the policeman's actions. Some excuse. I don't have them all right here written down for you, but something was done. Trayvon Martin, oh, well, he shouldn't have done this. Tamir Rice, well, he had the gun. The toy gun, I'm sorry. He had the toy gun that a trained police officer should be able to identify. But anyway, he had a toy gun. Michael Brown. Michael Brown was the one who came out of the cigar shop or whatever it was. He's yelling, he's saying he can't breathe, and policemen, they have him well in hand, well under control. But because he went and stole something, hey, that's what he deserves, right? How about the police officer in Dallas? How about that one? And this is not funny, but I'm laughing at the excuses people come up with. This woman she didn't walk in. She broke into this black man's house. Shot and killed him, and claimed she didn't know she was in her own place. I'm sorry, and claimed she thought it was her own place. She didn't know it was someone else's. That's how easy it is? I mean, she got in trouble for it, I guess. But people aren't even speaking up about that. The same ones angry about Michael Vick. You haven't said a word about stuff like this. That's why it shouldn't surprise anybody. Either excuses are made or nothing is said. When it does. We are viewed as lesser than. This country has been conditioned to do that. Conditioned doesn't mean a few people think it. Conditioned to accept that. And it's not just black people. That's why I said people of color. Look at how Latinos are viewed as well. After Hurricane Maria, I didn't see a whole lot of requests for donations and all this and that to help them out. They're part of the United States. Hell, we still got to tell people that one. People still have to be told. They lied about how many people died in that hurricane. Our country lied about that. Does something like that happen here? In a predominantly white area? No. The only one saying anything about Puerto Ricans was pretty much other Puerto Ricans. A few people of color, a few white folks here and there, but for the most part, not nearly the same kind of attention when it happens otherwise. A white celebrity dies of a drug overdose. Oh, we need to talk about intervention now. We need to talk about ways to help. We need to not judge something we know nothing about. That's what we got to do when it happens there. White celebrity commits suicide. We have to talk about depression. We have to make that a major topic of conversation now. We need to check on all our friends and make sure everybody's okay. Person goes into a school, murders children. Our babies. They go and murder our babies. Why? Because they didn't get their way? Because some girl laughed at them? Because somebody turned them down? Or for whatever reason and all this, they're mad because they got kicked out of school. And our babies get murdered because of that? And what's said? A lot of the same ones who don't forgive Michael Vick, what do they say? Oh, mental health. We got to check on his mental health. Yeah, he was a little troubled. And, nobody really knew. Nobody knows what's going on. We got to make sure he has the right the right resources. And mental health is so important. Right? That's what happens. And only in that last case is it not all people of color, because the children in the schools, they're a huge mix. But the other ones I was talking about, yeah, minorities, lesser than. For those of you who spoke up and talked about all this intervention, mental health, depression intervention, and so forth, when's the last time you said it about a black person? Are these things that can only happen to white people? If a drug overdose happens with someone in the inner city, why isn't drug intervention important there? Because it happens so much? Okay. Is it still not important? If someone continued breaking into your house, do you eventually say, hey, they're just going to keep on doing it? Or do you do something to change it? Do you keep going at it until you figure something out? So don't say, it happens so much, we become desensitized to it. That's the problem. Why are we desensitized to the bad stuff that happens in black communities and Latin communities? Why are we desensitized to that? That's called lack of caring. That's not desensitized. That's lack of giving a damn. Because if you have it in you to care when it happens to a white person, guess what? You have the ability. You just don't want to do it. That's what it comes down to. Again, these are the reasons it should not surprise anybody. If Michael Vick was a white male, those same folks, you'd forgive him without a doubt. You would talk about how long ago it happened. Let he who have not sinned will go there. Not throw stones. That's one that's used too when, white males are convicted, not charged, not accused. When they're convicted of rape, the first thing we say, everybody's not perfect. Don't throw stones and all this. But drug intervention, does the black community, do we not need drug intervention? Latins, do they not need drug intervention as well? So why aren't we doing the same thing? Mental health. Only white folks can be affected by mental health? Or have mental health problems? No. So how come blacks and Latinos are not afforded the same opportunity to get mental health support? We're not speaking up for them. I sure didn't hear anyone say, man, Michael Vick, let's talk about mental health here. Because something has to be going wrong. Latin community, same thing. We don't talk about it. We leave it be. The way we are conditioned to view people of color in this country is the reason nobody should be surprised. How about police records? Lord knows, let's look at that. Our rap sheets, the rap sheets that any black person has, it doesn't matter if this person discovered the cure for cancer. Discovered the cure for cancer, saved 1,000 children out of a burning daycare center. If it is on record that they stole a pencil off their teacher's desk in the 3rd grade, guess what? People will have every bad thing to say about them. Anything in our past that we've done wrong is held against us. Anything. If you don't believe that, Tamir Rice, what did Tamir Rice's rap sheet look like? Oh, he doesn't have one because he's 12. He was 12. For anybody who wants to make an excuse, Tamir Rice was the one shot by police because he pointed a BB gun or whatever the case was. Now, I'm going to tell you, as a soldier, as a veteran, and I'll wrap up shortly, but as a veteran, we are taught all the time how to identify credible threats. Somebody saying, I'm mad, I'm going to get you, that's not a credible threat. We are trained to know the difference or truly understand what a threat is as far as, when someone's carrying a weapon. So to say that these police officers had no idea is either a lie or these are some sorry police officers. That's all there is to it. And being 12, you're telling me they couldn't figure out, they couldn't shoot this kid, or they couldn't duck, move out of the way, shoot this kid in the legs, and he would have been done with it? That gun would have fallen out of his hand so quickly. No, he's not okay for sitting pointing a gun to a police officer. But in that case, of course, let's blame the parents. Now we're going to blame the parents. We're going to do everything in the world except saying, hey, a 12-year-old was murdered. Right? So he didn't even have a rap sheet. So that we honestly can't even really use that one because he's 12. But anyway, the way we are looked at in this country is why it shouldn't surprise me. This country has been conditioned to view people of color as lesser than white people. There's no shock to that. You serve time, that's not good enough. You speak up again, that's not good enough either. We have to be punished. Punished to the point of death, actually. Oh, by the way, let's not forget Colin Kaepernick, the one who didn't even do anything illegal. The one who was encouraged by a veteran to take a knee during the national anthem. Hell, people use the same language in describing and talking about him as they do Michael Vick. So you can't sit here and tell me we're not viewed as lesser than. We have a president who spends hours a day, literally hours a day, again, not an exaggeration. We're talking 60 minutes, multiple times a day, like a 12-year-old, tweeting. Don't that man have stuff to do? We okay with that. Oh, and by the way, let's talk about Greta Thunberg for a hot second. Greta Thunberg. Let's talk about her. She received the award, Times Award for Person of the Year. I believe that's what it's called. It might not have it exactly correct, but you get the idea. She is a 16-year-old activist suffering from Asperger's syndrome. I can't recall where she's from at the moment, but you've probably heard of her. And our president, our 73-year-old president, is bullying this child. What has she done, you ask? Well, she cares about the world. She wants to clean up the world. Climate change is the thing. She's about that. What's the worst that can happen if we followed everything she said? What's the worst that can happen? We just have an extra clean planet. That's the worst thing that can happen with all this is that our stuff's just extra clean now. But people are okay with that. He gets more of a pass bullying children, spending all this time on Twitter calling people names. Because that's what most of his tweets are doing. He's just calling people names. And real childish stuff, too. Not even, like, smart stuff. This stuff my kids could, come up with. But we're okay with stuff like that. But a man who's done his time, served his time, wants to come out and wants to fix things, wants to work on things, we can't forgive him. There's no surprise. The color of his skin is why. That's it. It's that simple. Everyone in the world will come out and say, I'm not racist, I'm not racist, I'm not racist, I got black friends, blah, blah, blah. And I say the same that I tell people all the time. If you have to announce that you are a decent person, if you should get credit because you treat black people the same way as you treat white people, and you want credit for that, that by itself is the problem. This is Robert People of RobertPeople.com. Thank you for listening. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here again on Monday.